Right, so this video is about my magical theory that I've built up over the last few months. Originally, I thought, well, you don't need a magical theory. You just do magic and you don't worry about how it all works. And either it works or it doesn't work. And Vicky pointed out to me that surely, she said something along the lines of, surely it will work, you'll be able to get it to work better if you understand how it works. And I think that's true, and it's not true now. I still think that we should not worry objectively, we should not worry ourselves objectively how magic works. We don't need to think, oh well, we don't need to have some kind of worldview in order to understand or to do magic, because having a worldview impedes magic in a certain way. So, if you believe that certain things are possible and certain things are not possible, the things that you believe are not possible are going to affect your the way you do magic. So, from the perspective of objectively understanding how magic works, I don't think there's much point in having a theory of magic. However, it did make me think, and what the conclusion that I started to come to was that initially I felt that essentially that all magic was really driven from desire. So in order to start using magic for something, you probably are going to be desiring something, and therefore that is your starting point. Then I thought, well, why? I can't remember what I thought next exactly, but I thought something like, okay, well, what is desire? And I thought, well, desire is a pull factor. So we've got this idea of a future occurrence in mind, and this, when we talk about desire, we're talking about we're being pulled towards this future occurrence, and that's our magical objective, and that's desire. And when you think about it on those terms, in the terms of pulling, you can think, well, why haven't I already reached that future desire, that pull? Why haven't I gone towards that thing already? Or why am I not already going towards that thing in a satisfactory enough way to make me think that I should be employing the use of magic? And so that was the question that came to my mind. So, and then I thought, well, okay, if you look at desire, what is what would push you away? Well, the obvious answer, what would stop you from getting to that future objective? Well, if you're looking at desire, the obvious answer is that there's some kind of fear pushing you away. So it's psychologically stopping you from reaching that future objective. And I started then to, whenever I tried to do magic, not only document my desire, but document any fears which were preventing me from reaching that desire. I basically am of the opinion that if you desire something and there's nothing stopping you from going towards that thing, then you will go towards that thing, and the likelihood is that you've already gone towards that thing, and therefore you're never going to think to yourself, well, I need to use magic now. So there's usually, when we're dealing with magic, there's usually an impeding factor. I've introduced the term impeding factor here. Basically, as I started to develop this, I created a notation in which, so the approach was to list the desire, but also to list the fears. But then I later on realised that the things that stop me from reaching a desired goal are not just fears. I mean, fear can be a big part of it, but there are other things that could stop me from reaching that goal. All sorts of other things. I mean, there may be other desires pulling me in other directions. There may be physical things stopping me. But basically, it's not quite as simple as lumping it all into fear and desire. Desire, yeah, fine, of course. It's okay to say magic is based off a desire. I want to achieve something, so there's clearly a desire starting point there. But in the case of the impeding factors that I now call these things, impeding factors, they're not always fears. So now I'm in the habit of writing the desire and listing the impeding factors. Now what I found was, when I was starting to think about fear, ask myself the question, what exactly is fear? It's the pushing you away from some desired objective. It's a force that pushes you away from some future state, psychologically speaking, and it makes you avoid it. And pretty much I think that pretty much all fears can be described in terms of desires. So I might be I can't think of anything now, but basically you can take a fear and you can recast it as a desire. So you can say, I fear X, if you like, and then you can think, well, I desire not X. And if you desire not X, then you can think about what not X actually is, and you can substitute not X in, or the many different variations of not X, into that list. And so what we can do is we can take the impeding factors and transform them into motivational factors. So factors that are no longer simply repellent to the original desire, but are actually understood in a more complex way as being competing desires. Once you've listed off these competing desires, so you transform your impeding factors into competing desires, once you've listed off these competing desires, then you can start to see, well, actually I can join up my primary desire with these competing desires, and you get a new understanding, a new desire, a more accurate desire, one which is more acceptable to your psyche, and in fact more acceptable to you. And to be honest, in a lot of cases I think you could just leave it there. Once you've transformed your understanding of what it is you desire, it's much easier to flow naturally towards it. However, what I think the magical process does is to change the balance of energy. So even if we didn't do all this transformation work up front, I think you could still use magic to change the balance of energy. So basically each of these desires, the desire is going to have impeding factors, and each of the impeding factors is going to have an energy, and the desire itself is going to have an energy. And what magic does is it allows you to put energy into things. Now of course, when you do magic, you tend to put your energy into the desire, but you could also put your energy into minimizing the impeding factors. And so what you're doing is you're changing the energy balance surrounding the desire and from the desire. And if the energy involved with the desire overwhelms all the impeding factors, then you will naturally flow towards it. Another aspect that I've developed when I ask myself the question, well, what about things that I kind of desire, but I don't know if I really desire them that much? Things like, I want to do the washing up, but I really don't like doing the washing up. Things like chores, stuff that you want to do, but you don't really want to do. And when I started to think about that, I realised that not only could you transform impeding factors into competing desires, but you could also transform the initial desire into a higher desire. It's not that I want to do the washing up. No one wants to do the washing up. What I really desire is to live in a house where there's no dirty plates and cups and knives and forks. That's what I really desire. And when you start thinking about that on those terms, it transforms that desire, and it makes you more motivated. So you're finding a higher energetic desire from your lower energetic desire, which didn't want that much, but you knew you had to do. So you found a higher energetic desire, and then when you start to put your energy into that desire, or even if you don't, once you've found it, it reconfigures your mind and it changes the way you look at things. And so you naturally tend to go towards it. And this is how you can find motivation for things which you know you want to do, but you don't really want to do. And that's a very interesting thing for me as well. And that's as far as I've got so far in the Theory of Magick. But, you know, I suppose that I should add that I have created an abstract form of mathematics to go with. It's just very simple, really, but it's a sort of abstract mathematical form. And obviously I can't really demonstrate that in a video, but I just wanted to add it in there. One thing that occurred to me is I could transform my abstract mathematics into sigils, symbolic mathematical descriptions, and these wouldn't be very far away from you know, normal sort of chaos magical practices. Anyway, so that's the end of the video. I hope that was informative, and I hope you enjoy the scenery as it all flowed past.